With the trade deadline less than a month away, the Mets could be sellers, they could be buyers, they could stand pat. So on Wednesday, St. Louis Cardinals president of baseball ops said, quote, "Right now I can tell you that we are going to trade people. I just don't know if it's going to be household names or more of guys who are just not likely to be here next year," end quote. So Britt, are there any names on the Cardinals that you could see the Mets making a move for?
So if you look at kind of what the Mets are going to do, if we're assuming here that the Mets aren't going to be sellers, we're assuming they're going to be buyers. They're going to buy people, or they want to buy people that don't cost a lot of prospects and also that are part of this organization's future, right? They're not in a position to get these rentals because they're still fighting to even be relevant in the playoff race. So when I look at the Cardinals, my question is, to what level are they going to be sellers, right? If they're just going to sell these rentals, these Jack Flaherty type guys, then it's really not going to have Jordan Montgomery. Then you're really not going to see a fit. Now, if they're going to make Paul Goldschmidt available, Nolan Arenado available, if they're really going to go down to the studs and get real creative, then I'm listening as the Mets, right? Then I'm like, okay, we could potentially be trade partners here. But I think the truth is probably that the Cardinals are going to do just enough to kind of look toward next year to get rid of these rentals. They're not going to totally strip it down. They're not an organization that has traditionally at all not wanted to win every year. And the Mets, again, aren't in that position where they need like one piece to put them over the edge, right? They are fighting to not be sellers themselves. So I don't see them, at least on paper, lining up as any kind of match.
Joe, what other options do you see for the Mets as potential trade deadline options?
Bullpen, and more bullpen. So if they're going to be buying it all, which would require a really big stretch coming right out of the break, we had talked about on the Mets pod how important the stretch right before the break was, and they largely played well until the end. And just losing 2 games at the end just puts you a sour taste going into the break. But if they come out hot, they certainly need to add to the bullpen 2 guys, like, even if it's smaller level deals like the Trevor Gott deal, where they basically bought Trevor Gott for the cost of Chris Flexen's contract. They're not interested in giving up prospects like Britt suggested before, certainly not any of their high level ones. So I would expect if they do buy, it will not be at a significant level that costs anything that they consider a part of the near or long-term future. So I guess we'll see how the next couple of weeks go.
Do either of you, and I just got to ask, see a world in where maybe they would give up someone like a David Robertson?
Yes.
100%.
If they decide that they're not going for it this year, what is the point of having a guy who could net you prospects and pieces of your future? We talked about how good he's been. Teams are always looking for bullpen help. The later innings that you can get, the more you can get for these guys. So absolutely.
David Robertson, Tommy Pham, maybe even Mark Canha if you pay down the money. And then the big elephant in the room, do they look to move someone like Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander? Will Steve Cohen pay down enough money to get a worthwhile return if things are not turning around here in the next 2 weeks? So the time is now for the Mets. So when the off day ends today and they're back tomorrow, they have to come out hot against the Dodgers.